Welcome into another edition of Keeping Up with Montevallo Athletics. I'm your host, Caleb Brooks, joined by head football coach, Coach Blake Boren, fresh off of another win, a homecoming win this past week. And Coach, you guys were able to take care of business in dominant fashion. You get a shutout and, kind of how you draw up what you want homecoming to be. You bring a lot of old faces back here around the program. They get to see the team, and then the team goes out and performs really well and gets a big region win on Friday night for you guys.
Yeah, I thought we played really well. I think we, when you look at us offensively and defensively, obviously we pitched a shutout, which I think I read in the paper was the first time that's happened here since 2019 when they played Sipsey Valley. Just a really great defensive effort. We're never really threatened defensively most of the night, which I think is a credit to our staff. Again, made a bunch of changes from what they did the week prior because the offense was completely different, and kids bought into that and they played really, really well. And then offensively, again, I think you spread the ball around. The ball was distributed really well. All four receivers had a catch. Javon had multiple catches. Jaden Rutledge had multiple catches. And we got great efficiency from the quarterback, again, completing almost 76% of his passes. So really a good balanced night, and really proud of our kids. Again, as we get into this, we're starting to figure out what our identity is a little bit, and it's positive to see good growth with all of our skill players and being able to do what we've asked them to do.
We both talked about how the coach down there at Dallas County is, really trying to do a good job of getting that program back and things like that. What were some of the things that they were able to do to have some success against you guys on Friday night that you're going to have to look at this week and try to fix up in order to go and beat a really good West Blocton team?
Yeah, I think they play hard. They're young this year. One of their better players didn't play Friday night, but the thing that I noticed was just the kids that they had play and played hard, and he does a good job. That's a tough place to be. It's kind of it's a very rural area, and one of the interesting things about Dallas County, people don't realize you're basically a sand wedge from Chilton County where the school is, and so the majority of their kids live 25, 30, 35 minutes away, closer towards Selma, but in reality the school's built in Maplesville, and so knowing a little bit about them over the years, it's difficult to get kids there in the summer without transportation, and it's a tough place to be, but he's done a really nice job there the last 2 years. And they always have great athletes. They won a state championship in basketball there. They won a state championship in softball there a few years back. We had several kids that played for us at Fulton from there, so there are good players there. It just takes time when you're getting in and building a program.
When you look at homecoming this past week, we talked about some of the distractions that could cause. It was a weird week because no school on Monday, and then it rained last Monday. How'd you feel about the way that your team just kind of handled a different week, and then a lot of distractions that could have, caused their focus to go elsewhere this past week?
Yeah, I thought it was great, and the weather was forecast to be really bad on Friday night, and sometimes when you deal with 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, that sort of becomes the focus and the dominant talk around the locker room. But our kids did a really nice job, again. Ended up having a really nice crowd with the weather the way it was, and fortunately the weather held off late until the fourth quarter. By that time it was a running clock anyway, but just really proud of our kids. It's a very difficult week when you deal with all the things that go on with the events of homecoming, and for our guys to come out and play the way they played, I think it shows that got a little bit of level of maturity and a good group.
Did y'all ever consider moving the game to Thursday, or the fact that it was homecoming made that difficult to try to do?
Well, we would have liked to have moved it to Thursday. And that was one of the things our Board of Education called, wanting us to move the game to Thursday with the weather forecast the way it was. But both schools have to agree to it, and if you don't agree, it defaults to 7 o'clock on Friday night. So I think Dallas County had some transportation issues from what I was told in terms of getting buses. Keith High School in their district was able to get it moved, so they figured it out. But Dallas County struggled with that. So ultimately, it's kind of the old adage, you sort of play when you play, and you show up and you do the best you can do, and just proud of our kids to play the way they did and to get a good victory on homecoming.
Yeah, and like you said, it worked out Friday. I was expecting some bad weather as well at the game that I was at, and until about late in the fourth quarter it held off. And how big is that also, where you have a game like that where weather can play a factor? The fact that it didn't play a factor, you didn't have to worry about it. You didn't have kids slipping and sliding around out there. When you look at that, how important is that for a game like that where you expect to go dominate, you expect to go and really, really play well, and then you don't have to worry about that type of factor that can cause issues, fumbles, mistakes, and all of a sudden you're in a really, really tight game in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, weather's interesting. You have to prepare for it. And so, if you would have driven by our practice field on Wednesday and Thursday, you saw us with coolers full of water. We were spinning rubber footballs in water and, working wet balls. And, we altered some of our sideline routines. I think we had 6 tents up on the sideline, and every player had individualized towels, so you definitely go into the state of how do you prepare to play in weather? Like you saw it yesterday in the 49ers and the Bears game. The weather can have an immediate impact. And so obviously the game is played, you kick it off, and it's the team that sort of overcomes that the best that typically has success. And so I think there's two things. One, you try not to harp on it because it's still football and it's still blocking and tackling, and but also you have to be prepared for it. So in some ways you have to sort of put it out of your mind and just play the game. But in other ways, again, the teams that are prepared are the teams that usually have success.
Flipping the script now to this West Blocton team this week. We were talking a little bit beforehand off air. This team is 1-3, but they're a lot better than what their record shows when you look at the level of competition they've played, the way that they've played in those type of games. And so in a week like this, where I think that we saw it with some college football teams Saturday, you play against someone who maybe lost the week before, didn't play as well, and the next thing you know, you're not playing as well, and you're in a dogfight. For your team, is that going to be one of the biggest focuses, is not focusing on what they've done so far, but focusing on what type of team they have?
Yeah, I don't think our kids, there's no reason to take West Blocton for granted. They're a much, much better team than their record indicates. I think they'll easily be in the playoffs in our region. When you look at their schedule, they played Shelby County, who beat us week 1, very competitive game. A couple things go West Blocton's way in that game, and they're on the right side of that outcome. They played Brookwood week 2, which is a 6A team that's gotten much, much better over the years. And they played them to, I think, a 1-point game, 14-13. Played Bibb County week 3, traditionally one of the better teams in the state. And then they beat Sipsey Valley last week, who's getting better. So there's no question they're a really good football team. They're probably, if not the best, they're right up there with the best that we've played so far. So it will take a really, really tall effort from our kids. We're going to have a great week of practice. And again, the majority of their team is back from last year. And last year, I think we beat them by 1 point. In fact, the last 2 years we played them, we beat them by 1 point late in the game both years. We had to go down and score in a 2-minute situation, kick a game-winning field goal in 2020. And then last year we had to go on a 2-minute drive, I think we went 80 yards in under 2 minutes to score late and basically hold on. And so they were young last year and they're all back. And so you can tell they're greatly improved from what they've been. And again, I think this is a team that will be in the playoffs. And when the dust settles, they're going to have a really good year. So it will take a great effort from our kids.
You mentioned them playing Shelby County. When you're watching film, obviously you were watching a lot of Shelby County, but when you're watching a team that you're going to play down the line is in your region, were you already making notes on them back then and watching any of the stuff that they were doing back, when you were getting prepared to play Shelby County?
Yeah, I think more so this year than others just because there's a new coach. And so, the fundamental scheme of what they're doing offensively is completely different. A lot of the same players, but a completely different scheme. Defensively is where they've made tremendous improvement. They're extremely good defensively. Really in that game, Shelby County beat them 14-6, but there was a busted play early in the game where a corner, came up and they hit him on a deep ball over the top. That was one explosive play that was a big touchdown. And then late in the game, Shelby County was up 7-0, and I think West Blocton snapped a punt over the head, and Shelby County got the ball inside the 10 and scored. Sort of late to go up 2 scores. And then they came back and scored to make it a 1-score game. So you take those 2 plays away and they essentially, pitched a shutout against Shelby County. So this is a very, very good football team. This is much better than some of the teams we've been playing. So, we've got a great middle linebacker, number 10, who's played a long time for them as our fullback last year. He's their tailback this year in a little bit different scheme, but just tremendous all over the field. One of the better linebackers that we've seen on tape. They've got several of the interior guys back. The thing that you notice is even the spots where they're young or the spots where they have new players, the players play extremely hard. And that's always been the adage there. They always play extremely hard. They're a blue-collar community, a tough town, and it's an extremely tall task for our kids. We will have to match that level of physicality and the level of intensity to be able to play with West Blocton.
What is different about their offense and their defense from a scheme standpoint?
Well, everything's different about the offense. You're talking about going from triple option under center, and they were explosive doing it. I mean, I think when we played them last year, they were number 1 scoring offense in the state, but there is no comparison between being under center, 2-back triple, and now they're getting in a ton of empty, and they're spreading it around, and they had a quarterback that got injured a couple games ago, so it's changed some even from what they were doing when we saw them live the first game of the year. But it starts with, you got 1 under center and 1 in the shotgun, and you're playing with 1 slot receiver that's really a glorified tight end. This year they're throwing the ball vertically down the field, and so there is no similarities. Defensively, it's the same, but I think the coordinators knew, is my understanding, and so the coverage structure is different, and the way they play formations is different. So the one consistent, though, are the kids, and the kids continue to play hard, and they're tough kids and they're physical kids, and they play the game the right way. So it will be a tough task for our kids this week.
being 3-0 in this region and also beating a team that you just kind of talked about is going to have a chance to make a playoff run and be right there at the end of the year. How big is this week for your guys and kind of separating themselves in this region and trying to get themselves to a point where they can be hosting a playoff game?
Yeah, it's very big. We've got a very good region in front of us. ACA and Bibb County are two quality teams in this region. West Blocton's a good football team in this region. Sipsey Valley's getting better. And so obviously winning the first two games were critical. You can't afford to have setbacks in our region because we still have some very talented teams left to play. And so again, this is a big point for us because we're getting kind of that halfway point in the year coming up with week 5 where we need to have one more than we've lost in our region to have a chance to sustain it down the back end. And so it is a big game for us. It'll be our first road game of the year, which always presents challenges and things you have to account for. And again, it's going to be a big game on Friday night, and it will take a great week from us leading up to that to have a chance to be successful.
You mentioned it being the first road game. How does that change Fridays for you guys now, compared to what you've been doing the first 3 weeks here at home? How will it change how Friday goes for these guys, when y'all leave, when you eat, that type of stuff?
It's a little different. It's not much of it. West Blocton's a neighboring community, so it's not like we're going, I think in 2 weeks we go down to Sipsey Valley, and that'll be an hour-and-a-half trip, and so that will greatly alter the schedule. But for us, being that they're 25 miles down the road, it doesn't alter too much. And so obviously we'll leave a little bit earlier, but the structure of when we eat, pregame meal, and kind of the Friday routine will be very, very similar. And our kids have played there. Most of these kids now have started a couple of years, and so we played there in 20, and they grew up playing there in the youth leagues and the middle school level, and so we know the area really well. It's a natural rival. West Blocton and Montevallo have been playing football for a long time now, and so that is not as much of a concern as maybe it is if you were taking a trip, like when we went to Jackson or some of the other places we've gone.
Coach, really appreciate you taking time to sit down with me again this week. Congratulations on another win and starting out the year now 2-1, 2-0 in the region, and look forward to a really, really big region game this Friday night and seeing how things go against West Blocton.
Yeah, we're excited, and obviously we'll need a great crowd from Montevallo there to travel. I know that community, they will shut the town down in West Blocton and be there, and so we would like to match that. And I encourage everybody to get there early. We're really excited about the game.
Ready?
Welcome back in. Keeping up with Montevallo Athletics. Caleb Brooks now joined by head volleyball coach, Coach Tena Niven. And Coach, for y'all, only one game this past week, and y'all dominated. Went out, beat a Shelby County team 3-0. And when you have a week like that where we talked about there was going to be some distractions, you got girls that are cheerleaders and are doing this, everybody's dressing up all week, to have that game in the middle of the week and go out and take care of business the way that y'all are able to, that had to make you really, really proud and show you a lot about the leadership of this team.
I was. It's a tough week because you want them to be involved in everything, and they are involved, and their minds are elsewhere. We didn't really play that well against Shelby County, but Shelby County always has a really good team, but we were able to overcome that. We lost focus a lot, didn't pass very well in any of the 3 games, but like I said, we were able to overcome it and get the 3-0 win, which was nice. But I'm kind of glad homecoming is over so that we can get more focused. Even at practice, our focus, our intensity wasn't there because, we had to have girls gone to be at cheer clinic, or we had to have girls gone for homecoming, attendant practice. And, by the way, our homecoming queen came from the volleyball team.
Hey,
Miss
awesome.
Emily Gallagher.
Yeah,
and we had
congratulations.
2 princesses, the 9th grade and 10th grade princesses came from the volleyball team as well, Miss Blakely Baggett and Riley Fletcher. So, I was excited to see, the girls, and they were excited. And so I know it was a big week for them, but like I said, we have a really tough game coming up tomorrow. And so I told them, once Saturday, the homecoming dance was over, we had to be fully focused on volleyball for the rest of the season.
What was the rest of the week like after playing on Tuesday? What were y'all able to get done on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday as a team, or was there not much that was able to get done?
Yeah, it was just hard, because, like I said, Wednesday they had cheer clinic, and I'd already promised the cheer coach that, that 3 of them or 4 of them actually could go on and do their normal stuff so that the little kids can be a part of the community pep rally. So, we're only there with like 7 players trying to practice. It just never was a normal practice.
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday I was just like, okay, we'll get back to work on Monday. And I know that they'll come ready to practice this afternoon. I'm not worried about that. But you just kind of hate having that game, that big important game, right in the middle of all this. But that's why we have the 8 seniors that we do. Hopefully, like I said, they're going to show up for practice today, and it's not going to make a difference. They're going to know how important the game against Bibb County is tomorrow and West Blocton on Thursday.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. You got to really hope that going into practice now today that you have a refreshed group and a group that's ready to get back out there, be on the court, and want to be out there again. Not that that we're too deep into the season, but like we talked about, y'all start in July, and so
Right.
It's almost like this was just a good week-long step away from it. Now let's get back to it and get going. And you get to do it with the 2 most important games of the season so far with Bibb County and West Blocton this week. Those are going to count a long way towards what you guys are going to be able to do in this area this year.
Yeah, going on the road to Bibb County is always tough, and they've gotten better here over the years. Last year they won the area, and we're trying to get that back, and we want to be able to host the area tournament here. So, a lot of that being possible is going to go into us going into Bibb County tomorrow and taking care of them.
When you look at, this week, how does area games change things? Like, I just feel like the feeling of the game's different, the way that you kind of prepare for the game's a little bit different, and so just how does it being an area week and knowing how important these 2 games kind of change what you would normally do going into these games?
Well, we do a little bit more film study when it comes to the area games. Bibb is a little bit more athletic now than they have been, and they have a lot of height on their team, and so we have to work on a few things, whether it be tipping or rolling or knowing where to place the ball if they happen to have some strong blocks up, and knowing where the weakness is in their defenses. Just a little more mental things than we would normally just go out and play. But with it being so important, momentum is going to be a huge deal. Whoever we have in the game at that time who's got the momentum and is getting us in the right direction, that's who we're going with. So, the playing time for some may drop, tomorrow. I see everybody probably playing on Thursday, but tomorrow it's pretty much, whoever can get us the win is going to be in there.
Going on the road, what kind of challenges does that give you as well? How different is it going on the road compared to being at the comfort of your gym and having your fans there and that type of stuff?
Well, in our gym we have a little bit lower ceiling, and so you have to kind of be prepared for that. Well, we practice in it all the time. We're okay with that. When we go to a gym like Bibb County and most others, it's a lot higher ceiling. Mm-hmm. It's a lot more forgiving. And so it's a little bit different when you play in that little bit bigger space. Luckily, we've already played in some tournaments and already played in some games on the road where we've had that bigger space and the feel of that bigger space. So, and you go in and you get different officials, from a different organization, and they call a little bit different. It's not so much ins and outs, but if it's double contact on the ball, or they want to see it clean, or they let us a lot of stuff go, you have to be able to adjust to that and not let it affect you. Just, okay, they're going to call this, so let's don't do this, or let's do this, and we just have to go in knowing it's going to be different, and just be mentally tough. Just be ready to get through whatever we've got to get through to win.
You talked about how this group won the area last year, and you guys want to get it back. Do you feel like you're going to have a group that's pretty focused going into tomorrow and going into this game, knowing who this team is and what they were able to accomplish last year?
Well, I think so, because basically the same people that I had playing last year are playing this year, with the exception of we finally had Hannah Locks back this year after breaking her neck and having to be out all last season. So I think that that was definitely a piece that we were missing last year, was her outside hitting. And now that we have that, I feel very confident going into tomorrow. If we'll just take care of the little things, mainly passing. If you can't pass, you can't win in volleyball. It doesn't matter how you set, doesn't matter how you hit, because you're never going to get to those things. So serving and passing, that's going to be our main focus. And in practice today, that will be our main focus. And that's kind of what little bit of practice time we got last week. That was our big focus, especially the passing part.
Do y'all play this weekend, or are you off?
No, we're off this weekend. We're not going to play again on the weekend to October 1st. It was kind of nice to have a Saturday to chill at the house and sit in the recliner and get to watch some football games. So got to enjoy that. And like I said, the kids got the Saturday off and got their homecoming dance. So it was a good weekend to have off.
Yes, ma'am. Awesome. Well, Coach, good luck this week. Big week with the area games coming up, and really, really look forward to seeing how these go, and look forward to being right back here with you next week to recap it and start getting people prepared for the next one.
Yeah, hopefully when I see you, we'll be 2-0 in the area.
Yes, ma'am. Hope so. Good luck.
Thank you.
Welcome back in, keeping up with Montevallo Athletics. I'm your host, Caleb Brooks, now joined by senior member of the football team, Anthony Martin. And Anthony, for you guys, a good start of the year now, 2-1. You get a big homecoming win this past Friday night over Dallas County. And just kind of tell me about this year so far. We came and talked to you guys a little bit before the season started, and a lot of you seniors talked a lot about how you guys want to leave a legacy and you want to really leave this place a lot better than you found it as a group. You want to do something special here, getting back to the postseason this year. So having the start that you guys have been able to have, playing to the level you guys have been able to play to, what have you enjoyed the most about this start to the season so far?
I say really I guess bonding and knowing that all of us have been playing together for so long and coming out in practice with each other, especially practicing as a team, it's helped a lot. And really just practicing, bonding as a team, and just spending more time with each other. I say that play a big role in how it's going to lead us towards this season or into this season.
Looking at game one against Shelby County, obviously you don't come out on the right end from a win-loss standpoint, but it seems like you guys were able to find out a lot about yourselves in that game. It seems like the offense has really gotten rolling since that game. And so even though you guys weren't able to win that one, how important was it to face a team that is a classification higher than you guys and to get to kind of see their physicality and to see someone like that to start the season?
Yeah, that played a big role. I feel like that really showed our true colors. And I'm glad we played that game, because after that game we changed a lot, and it made us we seen a lot. And we had it, and that game really it really showed, like I said, it really showed our true colors. And I'm glad we played that game, because after that we changed a lot in the front, and defensively we did too. Now, I feel like that helped big time playing that game.
Another big thing Coach Boren talked about was, he said, look, in the preseason, we can't get the looks in practice that we get in the game from a physicality standpoint. A lot of our first-team players play both offense and defense, and so was that a big part in that game too, getting just feel someone else out there being physical with you and having to make hits and just being in a game-like atmosphere?
Yes, sir, that played a big role, because, Shelby County, that's what they're known for, being a very physical team. And, I really feel like playing them as a physical team made us get better physically too. And so yeah.
How fun has these last 2 weeks been? I mean, y'all have dominated the competition. You've been able to get out to comfortable leads and just kind of, cruise through the game. And so how fun has it been to be a part of, see some younger guys get in and have a lot of people be able to gain some experience the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's been real fun, seeing everybody play and roll around, and, getting those wins builds more confidence for us. And it's been real fun. Hopefully continue to get more fun throughout the season.
Winning on homecoming this past week, that's always a big thing. You got a lot of people that come back and are around the program and want to see you guys play well. And so to go out and perform the way that you guys did, win on homecoming, how big was that on Friday night?
Oh, that was big. It was really big, because I feel like winning that homecoming game, of course you're supposed to win homecoming. You don't really want to lose homecoming. I feel like that actually helped, and it built the community, played a big role in it too. I really liked that, and yeah, it was great. I'm glad we won that game.
Tell me about this week now. West Blocton, me and Coach Boren were talking about, you look at the record, it's 1-3, but they're a lot better than what their record shows. I'm sure y'all been able to see that and watching film on them so far. They've played some good competition. Shelby County, a team that you guys have already played, a 6A team in Brookwood, Bibb County, who's always, really, really good. And so in watching them play against some of these teams that are really, really good teams here in the state, what stood out to you about them and what makes them a team that you look at them and say, hey, they are a lot better than what their record shows?
To me, I say they're a lot like Shelby County. They're physical. They do as they're told. They don't. You look at them, they don't really have as many athletes as you think they would, but they're a very physical team. And I feel like we're just gonna have to play physical. This is coming up Friday in order to beat them, in my opinion. So.
When you guys were preparing for this team last year, they were under center, triple option, all that type of stuff. Now they've changed their offense altogether. How will that make preparing for them different this week compared to the last couple of years for y'all?
It's going to be a lot different. I feel like we're going to have to also play physical, and then because usually we load the box against them because they're really a downhill team. But I heard they pass the ball a lot, so we're going to have to play physical and open at the same time. And I feel like that's a big task for us to do, but it can be done.
Going on the road this Friday night, first road game of the year, how big would it be to go out and really kind of set the tempo early, get out to a big lead, and try to build off that, knowing that you're going into a different environment this Friday?
I feel like this is going to be a big game, especially now this is on the road. But knowing that it's on the road doesn't change anything for us. We're going every single game. We're going thinking that we're going to do the same thing to each team is, and that's to win. So hopefully it doesn't change nothing.
Starting 3-0 in the region with a win this Friday, how important would that be? You guys obviously want to go out and host a playoff game towards the end of the year, and so getting to 3-0 and beating one of the better teams in the region as well, how important does that make this Friday night?
Oh, it makes it very important because, like we said over and over again, we want to make it in the playoffs and want to make it deep in the playoffs. And hosting, I feel like being able to beat this team and hosting a home playoff game will be very good. And so, yeah.
All right, so we're going to do the get to know you part of the interview now, and so the first question I want to ask is what your favorite food is, and then how often are you eating that food as well?
I'll probably say pasta. I eat it pretty often because my mom makes it, so probably maybe every 2 weeks.
Is there a certain kind of pasta, like a spaghetti or chicken Alfredo?
Like a chicken Alfredo type.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Yes, sir.
What about your favorite movie? What's your favorite movie to watch?
I don't really know about the movies. It's a lot. I have a lot. I don't really have
Is there a favorite type of movie?
action, especially, and then comedy, with The Rock and Kevin Hart. I like movies.
Yeah, they always seem to do a good job of combining both of them too.
Yes, sir.
Is there a TV show you're watching right now on Netflix or HBO or anything?
Let me see. I just got done watching, Stranger Things, but other than that, that's really just about it.
What about your favorite subject in school?
I'll probably have to say history.
What is it about history?
I don't know. I feel like people really just don't care too much about the past. To me, I found that very important. So.
What kind of music do you listen to?
A little bit of rap, and really, I really don't care about music, but a little bit of rap and R&B, maybe. Yeah.
So when you say that you don't care about, you're not sitting there having to listen to a song before a game or anything to try to get in any kind of mode or anything like that?
Well, recently I had broke my AirPods, so it's I've been trying to just get tuned in and by just, getting ready.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
What are your plans after you graduate from Montevallo this year?
Well, I'm looking into going to college to play football, hopefully, and yeah.
Do you know what you want to go into or anything yet?
Major, I don't know what I want to major into yet, or college yet, but I am looking into it.
What kind of message would you give to everybody out there on what makes being a part of Montevallo Athletics special and what's made your high school experience and playing sports here and all that a special thing to be a part of here?
I say Montevallo is I feel it as a big family, and I think that we're small, but it really doesn't matter about the size. Here proves that because we're a small school, and so I really say family is what matters in the long run of things. So.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, appreciate you taking the time to join us here on
Yes,
Keeping
sir.
Up with Montevallo Athletics. Good luck to y'all this year.
Yes, sir. You too, man.